Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first edition of Zooming In on Collaborative Digital Intelligence. I am Rhea Khalaf. I'm Director of Collaborative Research and Partnerships for FinML, an academic member of IVADO. I'm very happy to be here with you today and to moderate this session, and thank you for being with us. A few mentions to start. Time is very precious today as the presentations are back-to-back, so I'll indicate when there are 2 minutes left and then when it's time for the last question. For questions, you'll notice in the chat that should appear on the right side of your screen, there's a chat, a question, and a poll tab, so please use the question tab so I will not miss any questions hidden in the conversations or in the comments you might have in the chat tab. It also leads me to say that there's no audio interaction with the platform, so the only way to interact is through the chat. Also, the presentations are recorded, so if you hesitate between two presentations, you can review them later. Today's presentation will be on the development of machine learning methods to improve the analysis of environmental, social, and governance issues in the investment process. We have with us Elham Kheradmand, who's a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Montreal and is working on development and improvement of machine learning methods in sustainable finance. She's also working on research and development scientist at Actionnable. She has completed her PhD in mathematics at Polytechnique Montreal and specializes in algorithm development, machine learning, and finance. So without further ado, Elham, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rao. Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here to present my postdoc research about the development of machine learning methodology to improve the analysis of environmental, social, and governance issues at investment process. I'm doing this research under the supervision of Professor Manuel Morales and Alexis Hanal from Actionnable, and with the collaboration of Rhea Khalaf from FinML. So I will start my presentation by describing about ESG, what is ESG investing, or responsible investing, or sustainable investing. So responsible sustainability within an investment context is about meeting present needs while considering long-term positive outcomes. ESG refers to three sets of factors: environmental, social, and governance. ESG investors examine criteria within these three categories to identify companies that perform well using ESG-related metrics. Combining the ESG lens with more traditional stock analysis techniques is known as ESG integration. Anyone can join the soaring ranks of ESG investors by simply learning more about ESG and then using the framework to make further investing decisions. Environmental, social, and governance refers to three central factors in measuring the sustainability and societal impact of an investment in a company or business. In other words, we apply investment strategies that consider ESG issues as part of the investment decision-making process. The COVID-19 pandemic has strengthened the case of ESG investing. The resulting market turbulence produced further evidence that the stocks of companies with a strong performance on ESG issues are often less volatile. The pandemic also raised a public awareness of and support for social issues that fall under the ESG purview, such as worker health and safety. In ESG investing, we are thinking long-term, we are thinking about our education, our children's education, retirement, things that are 10 or 20 years off. With sustainable investing, we're thinking about our hopes for the next generation and about what we want the world to look like. The first component in ESG is environmental. The environmental component encompasses a company's impact on the planet in both positive and negative ways. In ESG investing, we think a company that is an actively good steward for the environment might be more deserving of our dollars than the one that is not. But how we can understand that one company is good or bad in environment, and what are the components? Environmental aspects of a company can be climate change policies, plans and disclosures, can be greenhouse gas emissions goals and transparency about how the company is meeting those goals. Carbon footprint, carbon intensity, pollution and emissions, water-related issues and goals such as usage, conservation, overfishing, and waste disposal, usage of renewable energy, including wind and solar, recycling and safe disposal practices, green products, technology, and infrastructure, and environmental benefits for employees, such as bicycle communicating rewards program and environmentally based incentives. The social components of ESG consist of people-related elements like company culture and issues that impact employees, customers, consumers, suppliers, the local community, and society at large. Social aspects of a company can be different things. For example, employee treatment, pay, benefit, perks, employee engagement and staff turnover, employee training and development, employee safety policies, including those related to sexual harassment prevention, diversity and inclusion in hiring, and in awarding advancement opportunity and raises, a measure or higher purpose. Customer service friendliness and responsiveness, performance history for consumer protection issues, including lawsuits, recalls, and regularity penalties. To corporate governance component of ESG, which is relates to the strengths of the board of directors and company's oversight, as well as how shareholders friendly versus management centric the company is. In less dry terms, a company with good corporate governance and a strong board of directors relates well to different stakeholders, runs its business effectively, and aligns the management team's incentives with the company's success. Governance aspects of companies can be executives' compensation, bonuses, including whether executives receive large bonuses when they leave the company, compensation tied to metrics that drive long-term business value, diversity of the board of directors and management team, potential for conflicts of interest for the board of directors, and proxy access, meaning shareholders' ability to put force board of directors candidates, whether the company's chairman and CEO roles are separate, whether board votes are decided based on majority or plurality votes, whether the company issues dual or multiple class stock, transparency of communication with shareholders, and the nature of outcome of lawsuits brought by shareholders. These are all aspects can be investigated to make a decision based in ESG investing. But now we understood what ESG and its components are. And the question is how we can integrate ESG criteria when we are making a portfolio. I want to invest money in a company and I want to consider ESG components. What are the ways? So one way, which is the traditional way, is actually excluding companies whose products might be controversial, such as tobacco, fossil fuels. Today's ESG investment look more holistically at companies and their role at large. Instead of excluding certain sectors or companies, they recognize companies that are moving in a positive direction. For instance, an oil and gas company can make sense in an ESG fund if its leaders are working to minimize their carbon footprint or meeting other sustainability goals. Usually, this sponsor of the ESG fund requires the companies included in the product to meet specific environmental, social, or governance practices. Investor can look at the sponsor requirement to determine whether their values match up with or what's in the fund. Building a portfolio can be done by just considering ESG ETFs, but this approach is similar to traditional portfolio construction. And only one difference, that is the process starts with the focus on values. We don't just want to have or choose ETFs that have the ESG labels in their names. For example, some funds companies apply the ESG philosophy to all their products. And if we only choose ESG ETFs, when we want to look at returns and risk. So one other approach can be integration approach, can be using an ESG score along with risk return trade-off. Fiera Capital concludes that ESG factor is a bias in risk-return ESG trade-off. So in other words, consider ESG factors in investment decisions similar to any bias influence on the risk-return profile. So to eliminate this bias, sometimes they exclude some companies with a very low impact score. But is there another way that is more robust? So another way that we propose is combining both financial and non-financial data in a unified investment decision-making system. So we use artificial intelligence to find the transparent relationship between all metrics or features with the help of explainable, responsible AI, which provides the transparency to make an optimal decision in investing. So now I answer another question. That does ESG investing produce better stock returns? If I try to be a responsible investor, will I lose money? This is a question that many investors ask about the concept of investing, not only for personal financial gain, but also in the spirit of making the world a better, a healthier, more equitable place, or at least doing as little harm as possible. Companies prioritizing ESG issues generate superior long-term financial performance across a range of metrics, including sales growth, return on equity, ROE, return on invested capital, ROIC, and even alpha. A company cannot become an ESG powerhouse overnight. It takes time to develop a deeply rooted ESG culture and leadership team capable of system-based thinking and decided to investing through research and development and capital expenditure in long-term initiatives to drive shared value creation. High ESG organizations seek to avoid short-term, bottom-line thinking. Instead, they envision the cause and effect of corporate action and seize stakeholder-centric value-creating opportunity while avoiding a stakeholder-related risk. However, a significant amount of research suggests a positive correlation between companies that do good and companies that do well financially and by extension do well for shareholders. Based on the research in 2015, out of 2,200 studies on ESG, 90% showed either positive relationship to corporate financial performance or at least non-negative relationship. So there's no evidence that integrating material information about ESG will hurt performance. Morningstar data showed that 206 sustainable US equity open-end fund and ETFs, 44% rank in their category best quarter for returns. And the returns of 70% of sustainable equity funds were in the top halves of their categories. Only 11% were in the bottom quartile. So you can see a chart at the left side. This chart shows the performance of those companies that have the best change in ROIC, and also the Russell 2000 index during the past 15 years. An investment of $100 in the best change in ROIC companies since 2004 would be worth $400, a 300% gain, while the Russell 2000 ETFs investments would be worth 60% gain. But clearly being early in identifying the best change in ROIC companies is critical to value creation. So an investor wants to make a decision based on ESG, but there are many factors. I showed you about different factors in E, S, and G, environmental, social, and governance, but how they get these data, what are the data sources that make a decision. There are some data providers such as MSCI, System Analytics, Moody, Refinitiv, or True Value Labs. They gather all these data together and then share this data as a platform to investors to make a decision. But this platform is not free, and these all ESG data, most of this ESG data is gathered from some public information. And the public information related to this ESG are financial disclosures. So companies annually disclose information related to all these ESG components. They disclose this information to investors and to help them to make good decisions. For example, one of them is TCFD. TCFD is Task Force Climate Change Financial Disclosure. This is a report that companies can disclose information related to climate change. So they disclose governance surrounding climate change risk and opportunity. They disclose strategies for addressing such factors, risk management consideration, and also metrics and targets which can be used to assess those factors.
2 minutes.
Okay. So there are some other data, ESG data is available, which is the sustainability reports, media reports we can access to extract like the metrics that I mentioned through the news, through the social media. So in University of Montreal, we developed an AI NLP-driven ESG analytics that does this job for us to extract information from the disclosure, which is publicly available, and extract and then score all the metrics that I mentioned for different ES and G. So for the first component, we developed a downloader, which automatically download disclosures. For example, TCFD, SEC filing, which is financial disclosures, download some concept from news using different libraries in Python. And then we have a component reader that extracts the body of text inside this disclosure, because these disclosures mostly are in PDF format or HTML format, and it's hard to extract all the text, but we use different libraries in Python to extract the body of the text, and then we clean this data because we want to be able to apply some language modeling over these text data. So we remove the point change, the stop words, we remove the noise inside, and then we apply and we make a language model. So it means that we transfer the text to numerical value or vectors using the state-of-the-art language modeling BERT. We use word-to-vector TF-IDF and different libraries in Python. And then we extract the information and using different methodologies in NLP, natural language processing, such as name entity recognition, sentiment analysis, semantic similarity, summarization, word importance, and topic modeling. So we have supervised and unsupervised learning to extract this data and to help investors to make good decisions. Thank you so much. I'm happy to answer your question now.
Thank you very much, Elham. Please, you can start asking your questions in the live discussion in the question tab. I'll start with a question. If you can tell us a bit more about the different NLP methods that you used and which ones you felt worked best with which type of documents.
So as I mentioned, the documents that we have is PDFs. It's a little bit challenging for us to extract information inside the tables and inside the image. But for now, we want to only focus on the body of the text inside these documents. And for machine learning methodologies, we used like many different methodologies inside, and supervised and unsupervised learning to extract sentences. For example, one thing that we have done is topic modeling, that we wanted to know that what are the topics inside the disclosures, and when we group or cluster the sentences inside, so we can know the topics, and then we can extract information based on the topics of this inside the sentence, that we can apply sentiment analysis to see the positiveness or negativeness of the sentences inside.
Thank you. There's no other questions for now. We have 2 minutes left, so if you want to tell us a bit more actually about like the documents. So you mentioned you're working a lot with PDFs. Mm-hmm. What about all the social media? Do you feel that that has brought a lot more insights into complementing the information that you have on the PDF disclosures?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, because like online news is a recent news, so we can get like refresh or updated information for companies, and also some factors which is important in ESG cannot be found inside the TCFD or any disclosures that companies annually report. For example, if for example, the behavior, or for example, Glassdoor is one place that companies, the behavior of companies toward the employees can be found there. So this is the one source of information that we can get some ESG information over there. And there are some tweets. Twitter is one place that is has valuable information for ESG decisions, and I think there are, like, if we look at LinkedIn or other source of information, all of them is valuable, because ESG is a broad concept. Is every component is important, and especially if that component is important for investors. Investors want to make a decision based on that. So it's very valuable to extract this information and make them updated for them.
Okay, thank you very much. Very insightful presentation. Our time is up, so thank you, Elham, and thank you everyone for attending, and I wish you the good rest of the day.